I'm hitting record. Hey, everybody, welcome into this magic room again. I am so happy to be here again with you. I have to honestly say, I didn't think the response was going to be as overwhelming as it is. I'm in this room now, sometimes 10 hours a day, talking to people that I never knew existed 10 minutes before I see them in the room. Today's another one of those people. She came in full of life, full of energy. I said, "How you doing?" She said, "I'm doing good, but not that anybody cares. No one ever listens to me anyway." I said, "That's all about to change, my friend," because I know she wasn't being, she was being facetious, she was being cute and giving me a sort of an answer. But there's something to what she's saying, because I think some people feel that anyway. They feel like, what place will my voice have in this world? There's so many people that are talking. How will I ever be heard? And so what I wanted to do is create the space in this room to love and accept people, to listen to people and hear them, and to acknowledge what they're saying and validate it, validate that I've heard them, and to validate that that is what they believe. In that process, something beautiful happens. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough times that it's worth mentioning. Who people are not falls apart, falls off. There's no reason anymore to protect yourself because nobody's fighting you. And in that space where you're loved and accepted, suddenly people blossom. And in that blossoming, sometimes people have never seen the person that they're looking at right here in front of them. And they have a huge transformation. Up. Other people trying to get in touch with me. They have a huge transformational experience that happens in that moment, which is really beautiful. Sometimes the conversations are quite boring. I don't think we're going to be bored today, because I can see from the smile of this beautiful young lady sitting across from me that I think there's some energy here.
I hope so.
I'm sure. And Daniela, before I bring you on, I have to give my obligation to the sponsor of the show. The sponsor of the show is the book over my left shoulder. It's the Mosaic. For those of you who have listened to this a few times, you know the story. I don't want to get too involved in the story. The Mosaic is a story that talks about, it's a fable, which gives over the idea that nothing's the way it seems. That the people that we meet on the street are not just people that we meet on the street, that if we would take the time to listen to them and hear their stories, every single one of them would become our teachers. Every single one of them would have insights for us that would really help us to see our life differently. And that's what inspired me to do the show. So I'm happy they're sponsoring the show along with me to do it, because that's really what I see in the act of listening to people. When I finished the book, it told me, go out on the road and do what Mo did. Go and talk to the people no one talks to. Listen to the people no one listens to. Go everywhere and talk to, and be there for people and just love and accept people. I had the trip all planned. COVID came and said, ha, ha, ha. So the Jews have a great saying. They say, man plans and God laughs. Well, I'm sure she's having a great laugh on me right now, because here I sit in my chair in the luxury of my comfort of my own home, and I don't have to go anywhere. And I'm talking to people in every continent in the world. So I've had hundreds of calls already, and will continue to have hundreds of calls until hundreds turn into thousands, because there's something beautiful in the process of getting to know a stranger. These are supposed to be conversations, and it sounds like I've given a monologue, so my apologies for that. Daniela Garcia, welcome to the conversation. How are you? Who are you? And what the heck's going on?
Hey, I'm great. I'm Daniela. And recently Daniela has become the CEO of PodBooking and the new author. So I guess those are my new identifiers of who are you. If the caterpillar of Alice in Wonderland shows up, I guess those are my answers.
I love it. I love it. So,
And Daniela, thanks for having me on. What the heck is going on? The world is spinning and I'm on it. And so are you, and here we are.
where in the world that's spinning are you located?
Atlanta, Georgia. Where are you?
I'm in San Diego, California.
Oh, cool.
So we're in the South on other sides of the country, sort of.
Sorry,
right?
I don't understand.
Yep. Oh, okay. Google thought that I was talking to her.
So she may have been interpreting me. I'm sorry, I don't understand.
So nosy.
So Daniela, congratulations, first of all, on becoming the CEO of that company that
Thank you.
is going on. Tell me what's important to you.
Ooh. Um, hmm. um, Being fulfilled, living a purposeful life, doing things mindfully.
Beautiful. And why is that so important to you? Did you have times in your life where you haven't been fulfilled or you haven't been mindful?
Yeah, definitely times in my life where I was just like going through motions, and just existing every day, not working towards a plan, so not being very purposeful, not taking the time to nurture my relationships, not being very mindful, just making decisions that were just easy decisions to make in the moment, like just eating junk food instead of taking the time to prepare my food and feed my body what it needs, and all these different like little aspects of life that I was ignoring and just kind of like, oh, it's fine. I woke up today, I paid my bills, I'm a good person. And something that I actually discuss in my book coming out is like that concept of like reframing what is a good person to, it's not if you're a good person, it's are you good at being a person?
I
And
love that.
yeah, and then that really shifted things for me about like 4 years ago. Like I took on this new perspective where I was like, no, my separation from evil or my separation from crime does not equate to my goodness. Like that's not sufficient. I need more. And so I reframed it to, am I good at being a person? Am I good at the relationships that, have been given to me by God, by life, by, my universe, my parents, those are God-given gifts. Have I spent the time to really know them? What do I know about them? My friends, every person, my husband, everyone who's ever come into my life, like they were all gifts. And have I been appreciating those gifts? Have I been putting in the time to take care of those gifts? And the answer was no. And so I guess that's kind of where it comes from, just being mindful, being fulfilled, not wasting what the gifts life gives me.
What changed for you to realize that?
I had moved away from home. I was making super good money. It was like making even more money than I make now. And I still wasn't happy. And I had gained a whole bunch of weight, which in and of itself wouldn't have been a problem, except for the fact that it wasn't like I had like a health issue. It wasn't like I had any reason for it. It was just a simple, I was being lazy. I wasn't putting in the time to work out. I wasn't putting in the time to feed myself well. Just wasn't giving myself time. And there was no reason for it. I was, you know, and so I realized I'm focusing on the wrong thing. I'm spending 10, 12 hours a day on my career, and I haven't spoken to my mom in days, and I haven't seen my friends in weeks, and I'm isolated and away from my family, and I'm just not even making time for myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And so when that happened, was that hard to initiate, or was that like, oh my God, I feel like a fish out of water and now I see a pond and I'm just going to jump into that because it's what I really want?
It was not hard. It was almost immediate. I was just like, okay, no, that's it. Ding. We need to call mom more. We need to make a list. So I like sat down and I wrote a list, and I was like, okay, what does, in my opinion, a person who's a good person do on any given day? What are the things that they are getting done daily? And again, this is going to be different from everybody, but for me, it was, well, they probably call their parents, they probably make time to call their friends, they get their work done, of course, they're efficient, they're taking the time to eat 3 square meals, and they're drinking water, and they're probably taking time to go for walks or go to the gym, they probably have healthy routines, they probably go to sleep early. And, it's just these lists and this long, long list of like the daily expectations of what I think is a person who is functioning at a good level.
And did you have to add another 24 hours to each day in order to do all that?
Surprisingly, no. Surprisingly, there is more than enough time. It's all about prioritizing.
Love it.
You'll find yourself with extra time and be like, oh no, is this time that I'm going to waste? I'm not going to be productive during these hours.
So who defines what a good person is in your mind?
You yourself and I, you as a person, you make that decision of, what is living your best life? What is your perfect routine? What is, who is the person? And I always say, like, who is the person, the 5-year-old you wanted to be? Reach the expectations of your child self and you'll fulfill your inner child.
And are you the person that your 5-year-old self wanted to be?
I'm really close. She would be really, really proud. She would be so excited to be me.
I love that.
It's something that I was reflecting on and like I was getting emotional about recently because there was definitely points in my childhood where if 25-year-old, I'm 25-year-old now, if 25-year-old me would have shown up to like 13-year-old me and been like, oh girl, don't even worry. She would have been she would have just been smooth sailing through her teen years. She should have been like, oh, I'm going to be totally fine. 25-year-old me says we're killing it. And I just got to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
If money weren't important, what would you do?
Exactly what I'm doing. Create a community, work in marketing. I'm a passionate marketer. I'm just really passionate about marketing. I'm the person who, if I had endless amounts of money, I would create ads. Like I would create advertisements. I'd create commercials. I would put my own money into making commercials. I love them. It's so weird. Everybody else always wants to hit skip ad. My husband's been begging me to upgrade our Hulu subscription. And I'm like, no, it's the only one that has ads. He's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's the only one that has ads because I love it. What makes you happy?
The fruits of my labor. 100%. When I've put into something and then I start just getting results from it, that's always just, that's like heroin.
What happens when the fruits of your labor are not the results that you want? Are you unhappy?
It depends. That depends on the situation, honestly, because like I've definitely had times where like I haven't gotten the result that I wanted, but I learned something from it. And so it was like, okay, that's fine. I just discovered a new way how to not make a light bulb, like Thomas Edison said,
Right.
Like, okay, fine. I learned this new thing. There's definitely been times in my life where like I put more eggs in a basket than I should have. And then that basket had a hole in it. And, that's definitely, there's been times when that's just been heartbreaking. But I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten wiser to just be okay with the unexpected, be okay with God laughing at my plans.
I love it. Let's play a lightning round, which I allegedly suck at. Okay, I'm not good at it. Okay. So the first ones will be pretty easy, but then I'm too curious. So we'll see how we do.
Okay.
Are you a dog or a cat person?
Ooh, both.
Both. Wow.
I've got them both in the house. I got 2 cats and a dog.
Wow. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Would you say you're conservative or liberal?
Moderate.
Moderate.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I love it because you're not letting me put you in these boxes. I love it.
No.
Would you say you're shy or outgoing?
Outgoing.
That's a surprise. I would have never thought that from Noah.
Yeah.
Right? Do you feel like you've always fit into the world, or have you always felt like you're a little bit different?
A little bit different.
I'm always shocked at how often I get that response. Because I would have thought when I wrote the question that most people would say, no, I feel like I fit into the world. Because I
think that people don't fit in these boxes that society puts for us. Like everybody's like, oh, I'm a little bit this, I'm a little bit that. I got a splash of that, a dice of this. I don't know.
So especially in advertising where people don't fit into those nice little niches that everybody wants them to fit into so that we can target market them and advertise to them. What do you do in those situations?
I try to find what's the root solution that your product, like what's the root problem that your product is the solution for, and just go after that problem. Don't try to fit people into a box, try to fit a problem.
Gotcha. Good point. What are you most scared of?
Failure.
How come?
Because there's a 5-year-old inside me who is expecting me to rule the world.
So, and I love that, and I understand that. And I think you said in every situation that happens, sometimes you have failure, you become the Edison who sees it, learns from it, and moves on. One of the people I had on my show was someone called the fail coach.
Okay.
And I thought, gosh, that's interesting. Why would you be a fail coach? It's like it's the antithesis of what anybody wants. Everybody wants to succeed.
Oh, but if you're good at failure.
And what he said is that the more people fail, the more risks they take, the more open they are to taking those risks, the more they succeed.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
So let me ask you again, what are you most scared of?
Not fulfilling my potential.
Okay. Okay. What would happen if you didn't fulfill your potential?
Absolutely nothing. The world would continue to turn. I would be totally fine. I've never been without. I'm a very blessed and privileged person in that regard. And I would, find something else. But overall, I don't want to let anybody down.
Do you not want to let anybody down? Is that what filling your potential means, that you don't want to let anybody down?
I guess when I say anybody, I mean God. And I don't talk about my relationship with God very much, but I guess this is a safe space for
Very
that.
safe. Very safe.
But I just always feel like if I don't utilize the tools and skills that he's given me, then I've, disappointed him. I don't want to do that.
I want to tell you how excited I am, because right this minute while we're talking, my wife is bringing me a cup of coffee to recharge me from my life. Thank you so much, baby. So I lost a little bit of what you said, and I apologize because I saw my wife come in and I was so happy to see the cup of coffee. Excuse me. You said something that if you don't fulfill the gifts that God's given you, then I missed you. Don't fill it in for me.
Well, then I'll just feel like I have let him down, or not fulfilled, my purpose and his plans, if you will.
And do you think that's even possible?
I mean, we're given free will, because we do have to meet him halfway according to his, we have to meet him halfway to his plans. He makes us that way. We can definitely decide to go left when he wants us to go right.
I love you have such a sweet and beautiful innocence.
Thanks.
And I love that. And I don't mean that in any way other than how much I love it. I really do.
Thanks.
In my 65 years of living, I don't know that I've ever seen a moment where I've let God down, not because I don't think I did, but because I just don't think it's possible to let God down. Tell me how you
disappointed him.
Tell me how. Do you think it's even what do you think he wants of you? That you don't have children yet, I'm assuming, right? Do you have a good relationship with your parents?
Super good.
Have there been times where you've disappointed your parents?
Yeah.
And what did they feel? What did they feel? What happened as a result of you disappointing your parents?
In some instances, it was, we wouldn't talk for a few months or something. And other instances, I would just get grounded, or, and our dynamic would always be off, you'd always feel the tension, and then it eventually would go away.
So I know you're following with me. I just want to ask you, if your parents can do that, what's the worst thing that could happen to you if you disappointed God? You might not talk to him he might not talk to you for a few months. He might ground you for a little while. But
Or like, damn my eternal soul, Danny.
okay, so you actually believe that he could damn your internal soul. So that
I mean, I'm just saying, I believe that there are no limitations to what he could do, and I'm not going to take damning my eternal soul off the table.
okay, so then I would understand why you're concerned about disappointing him.
Yeah.
Okay, so um,
Just, I don't know about like my whole access through the pearly gates situation.
right.
And
So,
also just overall, like I wouldn't want him to be like, darn it, I picked the wrong person for the job.
do you mind walking down this place? I don't want to have an agenda. I want to just ask you what you believe, or should we just move on?
We can move on. It's fine.
Okay. Okay. I think that's smart. Um, what are you most excited by?
Potential and possibilities.
Okay. What are you most hopeful for?
What am I most hopeful for? It's like a very specific question. The future. I think other people aren't, and I think they're wrong.
I like that. What do you hope most will change in the world?
I hope more people will choose to fix issues inwardly versus looking to solve problems externally. I think if 7 billion people, that's all of us, decided to fix problems internally, the external problems would go away as well as a result.
Love it. Who made you so smart? No,
My dad.
I love it. I love it. Would you say you're more of a giver or more of a receiver?
I'm a very 50-50 person. But I do give a lot. But I take a lot.
Not taking, receiving.
Okay, receiving.
I'll tell you why I'm asking, because I like the fact that you define yourself as a 50-50 person, because I haven't met a lot of people that are really good at giving and receiving. Most of the people that I meet that are really big givers, and I have a sense that you could be a pretty big giver because of your energy. Yeah. It's just out there, and you always are concerned about being a good person for people and giving people, and doing all the right things. Often have a very hard time receiving and being open to receive.
I have been really blessed with the people around me. I have been really, really lucky that I'm surrounded by people who are givers as well. And I also struggle with like the concept of the receiving, because it's at one end, like I give people my time and then I receive their time in conjunction. But for me, it's I'm giving my time and then it's like, yeah, I get to spend time with you. Like, I feel like I'm almost being selfish, but I'm not, because they're also getting out of that experience too. And like, I think that's my biggest thing, is giving quality time to the people I love. And then when it comes to gifts, I crush the game. I take gifts to another level.
You give.
Oh, I give big. Like, I took my mom on a cruise to Alaska. Like, I go big. Yeah. Wow. So that's what I mean. Like, I'll go big, but I mean, to receive more than I've received so much love from everyone of my life, and I've received amazing gifts.
If someone wanted to give you a gift to take you to Alaska, would you go with them?
It depended who they were. If there are red flags attached, no.
Okay. All right.
But like, someone that I wanted to go on a trip to Alaska with, of course.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Do you speak more than you listen, or listen more than you speak?
Oh, I speak more, and it's terrible. I've been struggling with it.
Why? Why is it terrible, and why are you struggling?
Because it's something that I really, I want to be more of a listener. I don't want to take up so much time, like talking, but then at the same time, I have so many opinions. I just have so much to say, and we're in quarantine and isolated. And there isn't a lot to talk. There isn't a lot of people to like talk to,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
if you really wanted to listen more, what would you try to do?
Well, my approach has been asking questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how's that going for you?
Pretty good, I think. I've been learning a lot of funky things about people.
What's the funkiest thing you've learned?
I learned that my dad's favorite slang word is groovy.
Groovy.
Yeah. I was like, what's your favorite slang word? And he's like, groovy. And I was like, why groovy? And he's like, nobody says it anymore, and they should.
He may be from my generation. I'm
He
thinking.
is 64, so he's
Yeah.
just a year younger.
So I'm 65. So I
Yeah.
think we said groovy all the time.
Oh, my thing's always been, man, if a boy called me groovy, I remember that was my thing, like, growing up, like, if a boy calls me groovy, I'll get a pizza with him.
I like that. Okay. So boys, if you're listening, no, but you're married now. So
I'm married now.
we
Off the
can't put you,
table.
we can't put you on there. Even if a boy says groovy, you're not going to go get a pizza with him.
I'm not getting a
No.
pizza with him.
Okay. Do you believe people are more similar than they are different, or more different than they are similar?
We're more similar.
So let me ask you, in a world where most people answer that we are more similar than we are different, why do you think we spend so much time on the differences that we have?
I think because they're all things that make us either, like, we all use these different things to make ourselves seem bigger. Like, all these little separators, these are the different things that make me better than other people. And it's like, no, they don't. Like, I have friends who it's like, the silliest things are their thing, like that makes them better than other people. Like, oh, they come from a certain family, or they practice a certain religion, or they went to a certain school. And it's like, no, you're just born into the world butt naked like the rest of us, not knowing nothing. Like,
Yeah.
shut up. Absolutely not.
Why do you think we have a desire to be better than other people? Why do you think people think you're different, I want to be better than you?
I think because people are just so hell-bent on comparing themselves to others in general. Like, this is actually a really interesting study that was done at Harvard University, where they asked them, like a graduating class, they asked if you could go to a job where you would make $50,000 a year, but everyone you worked with would make less than you, or work at a job where you made $100,000 a year and everyone you work with made $200,000 a year, which would you choose? And like 70% of them chose to make $50,000 a year. Because for them, it mattered more to be the big fish in the little pond than it did to be just financially more secure and just the lifestyle that would come with making twice as much more money. And it was like, you're stupid. Like, no, I don't care what everyone around me is doing. I care about me.
But what is it in the human psychology that makes them answer, I would take half the amount of money if I knew I was being paid more than other people?
Insecurity, their insecurities, the things that make them feel like if they're not better, then they must be worse. They can't just be different.
And why do you think so many of us are so insecure?
Because not enough of us are looking inward to fix our problems, or not enough of us are healing our inner child and healing the things that we're carrying inside of us that make us feel that way, and actually addressing our issues.
I agree with you. One of the things that I found in the world that I live in is that so few people know themselves.
Oh, absolutely. No, and so few people are willing to tell themselves their insufficiencies and tell themselves, like, I'm unfulfilled. And the things that, because they're so afraid of looking back and being like, oh, well, I wasted all this time. Like, no, you didn't. Like, you invested that time in learning that was not a good time. That wasn't a good investment of your time. That's a great way of investing your time. Not just move forward.
I love it.
You continuing to do it knowing that will then equate to it being a waste of time.
Do you have a hard time or an easy time trusting people?
Way too easy time, and then that leads to a hard time.
Talk to me. Tell me what that means.
just been times when I've definitely trusted the wrong people. And like have actually just like gotten robbed on the street and stuff because like I was trusting and life. I've had times when I literally on a like one of my first dates with my husband, we were walking in Atlanta and there was like a homeless person and he was like, "Oh, just ignore them." And I was like, "No, I don't want to just ignore them. Like, I got paid today and they are now in my path. I should help them." And so I offered the man to take him to the gas station and buy him a sandwich. As soon as we get there, he's like, "Could you give me a beer and some cigarettes and all this other stuff?" And
Right.
my husband then just a date was like, told you, like I told you there was no helping this person. And it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, at this time you were right, but I'm not going to allow that to change my like heart. I'm going to remain this way.
Yeah.
And if this person takes advantage, this person takes advantage. That's not a reflection of me. It's not a reflection of my character. It's a reflection of theirs. And that's all.
What do you think prevents people from trusting people?
Getting burned and then thinking that that burned is a reflection of their own intelligence and their own competence and their own ability to read a situation. And it's not. It's that other person's character.
Love it. Would you consider yourself to be a leader or a follower?
A leader. Like, I know that leaders aren't supposed to say that.
No. I think a good leader would always say that they're a leader. I think
that's what I think.
There's no ego. There's no ego. Oh, excuse me. There's no ego in saying clearly what we are. The ego is saying less than we are or more than we are.
That's fair. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to use a political example, but I don't mean it only politically, because I think it exists in religion. I think it exists in education. I think it exists in medicine. I think it exists in a lot of places. In politics, we elect people to be our leaders. And we hope that they'll lead. And what happens is, it doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on, our leaders get into silos of people who believe like them.
Yeah.
And they stay pretty true to those silos. What I always perceived a leader to be able to do is stand up to the silo of the ones that believe like them and lead within that silo. So when they see something that's happening that isn't right, they stand up for what's right rather than stand up for the silo.
Yeah.
But it seems to me, no matter which side of the fence you're on, we don't see many of those people doing that.
No, and on top of that, I think a leader is so much more of a unifier than it is a divider. And I think in politics all around the world, all we're seeing are divisive leaders.
Yeah.
Across every aisle. You don't find a lot of people who are in the world of politics or in the world of like government who are trying to like unify their own people. It's insane. And that's truly leading. Like, you're truly leading is reframing the mindset of you're this and you're that and we care about these people and we don't care about no, we care. If you're going to be the leader of Uganda, you're the leader of all of Uganda. You're the leader of America, yeah. You're the leader of all of America, not Republican America, not Democratic America, not independent America, America. And I think a lot of leaders don't see that that's really what their job is actually to bring people together.
But it also seems like the people no longer see that's what their job is either.
They've done a really good job of rewriting their job description for sure.
Yeah. It feels like no matter which side of the fence you're on.
Yeah, everybody wants their guy to push their agenda through instead of creating a new unified agenda.
So what do you think's happened? How did we get from a place where people literally used to unify?
Did they?
You don't think it ever happened?
I mean, not in any history books I've read, I've never really seen an example where I'm like, yeah, that was the perfect form of government, or those were the perfect people. We should all aspire to be like them. Like, I have never seen that. I feel like we are, because we're always coming back to these things that divide us, and we're always coming back to these petty notions of of insecurity and
Yeah.
letting that be the thing that leads us. It's always so much easier for us to allow our weaknesses to lead us than our strengths, because if we make our strengths lead us, then we have to apply ourselves, but our weaknesses will just work without our efforts.
I guess in the land that I grew up in, which was, a while back, we didn't agree on everything, but we could at least sit at the table and talk to each other.
Oh yeah,
Right?
nowadays it's and I mean that's how it was even just 10 years ago. I
Yeah.
remember even just 10 years ago, my family, like we had Democrats in our family, we had Republicans in our family, we had people who were just not political, we had, all those kinds of, and we never talked about it. It never came up. Come 2016, no one's talking about anything else. And I mean, on one hand, I'm kind of happy with it, because at least we've had more people involved in politics than ever before. But now we have all these new opinions.
What do you think has brought about the change?
I give you one guess, and he's orange.
Okay.
One. I think it totally depends on where you stand on the issue, but it just comes down to we have this very new polarizing character in the arena who is very, very good at getting attention. Good or bad, he doesn't care. There's no bad publicity in Trump's world.
So, and I don't want to get stuck on politics or
No, me
personality or
either.
anything like that. I have this conversation with my wife, who's a big lover and, but her belief system is that we have had this simmering inside of us for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't spoken of it. And it wasn't like the big orange man created this.
No, that's totally fair. And to be quite frank, like, I think it's something like, okay, even with the whole BLM movement right now, racism in America has been a problem since before America was even founded, just in the very foundation, the fact that we were born on the idea that every man is created equal and then still had slavery. Like, we were built on hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And never addressed it. And then while they were doing the framework, and they were at the Constitutional Convention, and Abigail Adams was writing letters to John Adams, and she's like, hey, what are we going to do about the slaves? And he's like, not now, honey. And she's like, well, what about the women? And he's like, not now, honey. And they just kept on putting it off to future generations. And we've never had an actual conversation about it. And now you fast forward to about 10 years ago, we discovered generational trauma, and we discovered that trauma is inherited and is actually embedded onto people's DNA. And so now we know for a fact that the people living today are carrying the trauma of all of their ancestors for the last however long you think, you believe
Right.
humankind has been around. So we've been inheriting all of these issues, and we've been inheriting all this pain. And again, people are not looking inward and fixing, and not fixing, but healing from all of this pain. We're not addressing any of it, and we're carrying all of this. And then you have the people who have been doing just fine during all this time. They've been doing totally okay. They've not been affected by it. So they're just like, no, that's not happening. And then you have the people who have seen it, and they were just like, no, it's happening. It's definitely a part of the world we live in today.
Yeah.
and the rug isn't big enough to cover this anymore. We're talking about thousands of years of issues that have not been addressed. And it's just coming to fruition now. We've had this year where millions of people were sent home to twiddle our thumbs. We're not in our rat race, keeping ourselves focused on not our issues. So now we are looking at our issues, and people are angry. People are emotional.
I don't know if your dad was a part of the peace movement of that age. The fact that he says groovy, maybe he was, maybe not.
No, Dad, he was an immigrant. He came from Cuba. So Dad was more so just trying to learn English and
Just
get
learning all
into
that stuff.
school. And,
So
yeah.
I was definitely a part of it. And a lot of
Okay.
what I see now feels like a lot of what I thought we were doing then.
Yep. Because
But
it's been bubbling. It's been bubbling for a long time.
But what I thought we were doing then, I thought had impact. And then I
It
see
did.
it did, but it didn't because we're
It did because
still,
we didn't have that follow through.
yeah. So what do you think will happen now to give us that follow through? Or will we have follow through?
I don't know. I hope we do. I don't think that we will with our government the way it currently is. Like, I think it's, and when I say, like, I don't think our structure needs to change. I'm not one of those people. But I do feel like the people within our structure need to change.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to, and it's naturally going to happen. You know, we'll just have new people come in and hopefully they won't be more of the same. And that's just the roll of the dice we just keep having. And a lot of people want to look and be like, oh, let's change, you know, let's give socialism a try or give communism a try. And it's just like, no, I don't think it's the system. The system's not the problem. The problem is that we've never talked about the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is that when there are riots and there are looting, our president, no matter what president, doesn't go on television and none of them have ever been like, you've been heard. We agree with you. There was a systemic issue. We are having a meeting tomorrow. Go home, be safe. We are addressing this, and like address it. Just address the issue. Address the fact that you have the private sector involved in our criminal system. Why is the private sector involved in our criminal system? That's basic economics. That's going to create supply and demand. There's going to be demand for workers in our prison system to feed our private sector, and that's going to cause for mass incarcerations for crimes that don't deserve that. So we've created corruption within our system. Let's just address it. It's not capitalism's fault that you're trash.
Yeah. Daniela, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Ooh, I'm at least running half the world. No, I definitely see myself hopefully heading a multi-million-dollar company called PodBooking that is bringing forth a community of individual speakers and individual thinkers to create their own individual platforms. It's not mass-produced.
Tell us what your company is that you just became the CEO of. Tell us more about it.
So PodBooking is a social network. So similar to other social networks like LinkedIn or Facebook, except we'll be focusing on just podcasters and on the podcasting industry because it's the fastest growing medium in media right now. And I'm really, really passionate about it because of the fact that, like I said, it's individuals and their individual voices and purposes versus multi-million-dollar conglomerates that just own every news station and every radio station and every, you know, and it's just the same messages being regurgitated out of different mouths. Yeah. I love that it's just, you're an individual. Every podcaster is just an individual person sharing their message. And I think that's awesome. And anything that helps that grow is what I want to be a part of.
So how can people help you or help grow that? What is it you're looking for now that you can direct people towards, that they can see more, grow more, do more?
Absolutely. No, pod-booking.com. You can join our wait list. We are launching our beta test October 5th, and we'll also be launching the platform itself. We'll go live November 1st. And so if you're a podcaster or know a podcaster, send them our way to join our waitlist for sure. Or if you're someone who's interested in being a guest on podcasts, that would also make sense for you to make a profile. Or if you are some form of like collaborator, advertiser, media buyer that's interested in working with podcasters. So those are all the people that are welcome on PodBooking.
I love it. When I talk to you, I feel hopeful for the generation coming.
I'm glad. I'm really glad that I create that for you. I hope that other people feel the same way and that other people my age are actually feeling this way too, that I'm not like alone. I don't think I'm alone. I think enough of us see the real problem.
I hope so. Being that you're in the podcast world, my last question to you is this.
Okay.
Both of these are important. What for you is most important right now? Is it more important for you to have a platform to speak what is on your mind, to build the work that you're doing, to create something new for a community of people to come and be a part of? Or is it more important for you to hold the space for other people who are doing things, to have a voice, to be, and for you to listen to those voices? You can only choose one.
I'm gonna say it's more important for me to like create the platform for others, and that's really where like our community is going to be all about. Is it's not going to be the platform for the Daniela show at all. It's much more the platform of other people and elevating others. Because I'm not elevating others, I'm not elevating.
I love it. I want to thank you for taking your time and being here with us.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. This was so fun and insightful, and I had to really use my noodle.
I love that. I want to thank you again for all of the information you've given. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank those who listen to the show for listening to this show. I want to ask you, if you like what you heard, to share what you heard with people you like, because that's what we do. When we like something, we tell people we like about it, right? When we like a restaurant, we tell people about to go to the restaurant. When we like a podcast, we tell people to listen to the podcast. And even more than that, we'll have all of Daniela's links in the show notes. If you like what she said, get in touch with her, contact her, see how you can get involved in the work that she's doing, see what role you can play, small or large, in helping to grow that. And I love when two strangers come into a room and other strangers listening to them start to come together and feel not like strangers and want to help each other to do stuff. That's, to me, is what's really beautiful. What I also want to do is challenge everyone who's listening. It's a challenge I leave on the show, every show, to go out and find someone that you don't know, someone who's a stranger now, and just invite them to tell you who they are and what's going on. Ask them how they're doing, just for starters. You don't need to fix them. You don't need to help them. You don't need to change them. You don't need to do anything. Just invite them to tell you how they are and who they are, and see what happens. See if in a very short period of time, someone who was a stranger doesn't become a friend. What I found is, in doing these hundreds of conversations with people that I didn't know existed, left the room, and I felt like I wanted to support them. I wanted to help them. I wanted to be friends with them. I wanted to do stuff together with them. They were my friends. And in a world that we're living in now, there could be nothing better than to have friendly people create a friendly world, rather than strangers create a strange world. When we live in a world of strangers, the world we live in is strange. When we live in a world of friends, the world we live in is friendly. Take a chance and go out and put yourself on the line and just ask somebody how they're doing. Daniela, is there one last thing, anything else you want to say before we go?
Yes. Whatever it is that you're trying to do it 2 feet in. Don't do anything half-assed.
Okay, perfect. All right, so take that, enjoy it, be with it. For those of you who are listening, thank you again for giving us the biggest gift you could give us, which is your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing if you feel to. And until the next stranger enters this room, be kind to each other, love each other, live life with both feet in, as Daniela said, okay? And see what you can do about taking a strange world and making it a friendly world. Until the next time, take care. God bless.